Good morning, adventurers. My name is Ben, and welcome to a morning show where I sit around, drink some tea, and talk about D&D. Oh man! Today, in D&D news, we have no news. Fizzbands dropped yesterday, so that's not super surprising to, well, at least me. But they're really just sort of pushing more and more and promoting Fizzbands more. So that's really all we've got to work with, because their next project isn't coming out until December now in Strixhaven. So I'm sure we can expect to hear more about that as it comes up, but for now, we're really living in Fizzband's world, which is a-okay with me. In terms of D&D streams, today is Wednesday, which means that it is the dark day in my stream schedule. So I don't actually have anything here, but if you were looking for some D&D to watch, go ahead and check out, twitch.tv/D&D. No, not twitch.tv/D&D. That's an actual channel. Search D&D on Twitch. There we go. And you'll, I'm sure, find plenty of smaller streams to go check out. Normally Dimension 20 would be on Wednesday, but they wrapped up their campaign with the 7 last week. So if you haven't seen that yet, I highly recommend it. It was very, very good. Excellent, completely phenomenal cast. But that is not the point. Moving forward from that, today in TND, I have this camping mug. It's one of the metal ones. It just says "Take me to the trees" on it. It's this really nice green mug. It gets very hot very quick because it's metal. But this is actually my fiance's mug. We got it way up north somewhere. I don't remember exactly where. But inside of it, we have just some green tea. This is Harney and Sons. Most of the tea that I drink a lot of during the days, in the middle of the day, is going to be this loose leaf stuff. Because I think it tastes better than the tea bag stuff usually. So I've got a few different loose leaf teas that I drink a lot of. And so that is one of them. Usually if I start to feel sick or anything at all, I'll just start gunning back or green tea, for better or worse. But I'm a big fan of that one, so check that out, I guess, if you're interested. Reminder, before I get into what we were talking about today, that through the end of this month, October 2021, all new pledges to my Patreon, as well as the overall pledge payout at the end of the month of October, are being matched by me and then donated to the Trevor Project in honor of Spirit Day, which happened last week, Thursday. The Trevor Project is a really great organization. They're a LGBTQ hotline, or crisis hotline for youth, and that is really important work that they do. So if you're interested in supporting that and supporting the show, check out my Patreon. If you just want to make a donation straight to the Trevor Project or want to learn more about what it is, I have linked that in the description of this video, so please go check them out. Link to my Patreon is also in the description of this video. But moving forward into what we were actually talking about today, we are talking about Gem Dragons. And I am so excited about this one. I promised way back when, when I first started doing this show, when I did the episode on dragons, that we were going to talk about Gem Dragons when Fizzbands came out. And today is the day. I'm beyond thrilled to get to talk to you guys about Gem Dragons. We're going to roll through these hopefully pretty quick, because there are, 5 of them. We've talked about one of them already, and we've got one bonus one, so we're at 5.5 maybe total that we're actually going to be talking about. So let's just dive straight into it, shall we? Starting at the top, we have Amethyst Dragons. These are the mightiest of the Gem Dragons, according to the books. The book, they, along with pretty much all of the rest of these Gem Dragons, start off almost opaque, and then they fade out and become translucent with age, which is really a cool concept. It's also important to note that all of these gemstone dragons are psionically rooted. So when you look at the art for them, they are this crystalline form with these little bits and pieces floating around them, which is it's just cool, honestly. The Amethyst Dragons are fascinated with the cosmos and other planes of existence, particularly like how they interact with each other. They will hoard wealth, obviously, in addition to knowledge and arcana of these other planes, um, which makes sense. They seem to be one of the more like thoughtful, I guess. Ones. All of these ones are kind of more intelligence based because of the psionic nature of them, but these in particular are pretty cool. They make their lairs near pools and lakes, and in the area surrounding their lairs, you will see crystal growth, so big amethyst protrusions starting to grow out of stuff, as well as a boom of the local wildlife, which is cool. Moving on from amethyst dragons, we have our crystal dragons. These are apparently the friendliest of all dragon kind, maybe even, which is interesting because gem dragons, sort of as a rule, are written to be the more neutral of the dragon, you know, greater hierarchy. You've got your chromatics, which are the more evil, bad-natured ones. You've got your more good-natured ones with your metallics, and then, in theory at least, your gem dragons are right down the middle. So it's interesting that they have the crystal dragons being the friendliest, like, across all dragons. But it's honestly pretty cool. They are suffused with the radiance of the positive plane through their crystalline structure. As they get older, you can actually see like light emanating from them from the positive plane, which is pretty awesome. They are hunted oftentimes by frost giants and white dragons, which is it kind of sucks. They make their lairs up in the northern frozen regions, so they are put in direct proximity to these frost giants and white dragons. But apparently, in spite of the fact that frost giants and white dragons have like standing rivalry a lot of the time, and they don't like each other, they will put that aside to hunt down crystal dragons. They make their lairs in these open sky fortresses of ice and snow. Words are not really with me today. Sorry, guys. They have yes, they will make their fortresses out of ice and snow as these open sky sort of castles. In the area surrounding that, they will have the skies will be absolutely clear. You'll see again massive crystal growth. These are interesting because they sort of match with the ice that's there, and so sometimes you don't know if you're working with ice or crystal. Again, there's the boom of wildlife around the fortress that they set up, and actually you gain 2 additional hit dice when you complete a long rest in proximity to their fortress. And I say proximity, it's 6 miles within that, so that's actually pretty cool. In terms of what they actually like to collect, they like to collect anything that is refractive, sort of like crystalline and refractive that will catch light, or in terms of magical items, they like anything that allows sort of like clairvoyance or will help in healing magics, essentially. Moving on to our emerald dragons. These are curious, cunning, and manipulative. But they are also incredibly shy, apparently. And they will oftentimes use illusions to mask themselves if they are ever in need of getting close to other creatures. This is one of the only ones that is billed with having a connection of some kind with other dragons, which is actually pretty cool. And that's sort of the case for all dragons. Most of them are kind of solitary creatures, or they stick within their own like chromatic group. I say chromatic, obviously that applies to metallic and gem as well. Not the point. They're specifically built to have a connection to sapphire dragons, where sapphire dragons, as we've discussed, like way back at the beginning of the show, are these sort of hunters of evil aberrations and stuff like that. Emerald dragons are fascinated by like sort of the occult nature of those evil aberrations, and so they will collaborate in actually like figuring out where they are, getting rid of them, that sort of thing, which is kind of cool. They prize and hoard knowledge of local cultures and histories over most other things. There's been at least one in every set of dragons, of the 3 main sets, that has this sort of obsession, which is honestly pretty cool. So they will collect historical artifacts, things that are specifically relevant to the immediate area's history. Um, they make their layers in volcanic areas, lava tubes, that sort of thing. And in the regions surrounding their layers, you can find crystal growth, again, this time emeralds. Uh, Rocks will just sort of randomly shift and move, which is pretty cool, as well as yet another wildlife boom. This one is more specific to giant lizards, they have listed in there, because that is the favored food of emerald dragons. Also, some of the only things that can actually survive in a lava tube, which is where, obviously, emerald dragons live. Moving on to our Sapphire Dragons. We have talked about these already, so I'm going to push through this one just a little bit faster. These are militant and territorial dragons. The most militant and territorial of the gem dragons. I don't know that I would say that they surpass the like primal ferocity of white dragons, but you know, each dragon is different, and it's going to be up to you to play it however you want to play it. They, in particular, hoard relics of war, so magic items, any sort of thing that has iconography from war or significance in different wars. They are really, really into. As I just mentioned, they are sort of obsessed with these hunting down and removal of these aberrations, because they make their layers deep underground in cave systems. And so occasionally they will actually ally themselves with like deep gnomes or rock gnomes, or you know, those sort of people, in order to better like get rid of and sniff out those underdark based things like, you know, mind flayers, and that general family of thing, in addition to obviously collaborating with emerald dragons to work through that. They have the same sort of thing overall as the others have had so far. They have obviously sapphire crystal growth. They also have a little bit of rock movement in their regional effects, and there is, of course, the wildlife boom that all of these guys seem to be getting. Finally, we come to the topaz dragon. These are I actually laughed when I read this originally. They are morbid and curmudgeonly dragons. However, they are not necessarily malicious. Their nature is just morbid and curmudgeonly. They like to complain, and they are obviously a little bit grotesque and morbid. They are like suffused with the despair of the negative plane, which is where all of that comes from. They hoard info on destruction and creation. So they are very much obsessed with collecting the information on how to create and how to destroy things. And they are fascinated by the undead, sometimes even like keeping them as like almost pets in their hordes, which is a little messed up, but you know, we said morbid earlier. They make their layers in coasts, like coastal areas, which puts them at odds with other dragons that settle around the coast. But they also hate water, and their favorite food is giant squid. So they complain often about whatever's going on there. That is where your curmudgeonly bit comes in. The area around their layers that are located on the coast are, again, filled with that whole crystal growth thing. This time, obviously, more topaz. The wildlife boom, particularly sea life. And they have a negative space that sort of fills, whereas the crystal dragons had this positive space where you gain extra hit dice. Topaz dragons, you actually have to make a Constitution saving throw during a long rest in order to remove levels of exhaustion and regain hit dice, which is kind of a lot, but also is a really, really interesting mechanic, because they are not necessarily malicious, and so they could that could be used in sort of an interesting way, I think, and I probably will use that at some point. We've got one little bonus for you guys, which is sort of to help offset the Sapphire Dragon that we already talked about. That is the Moonstone Dragon. I know it sounds like it should be one of these gem dragons, but it is not. Moonstone Dragons exist in the Feywild, and they are these like elegant, lithe sort of dragon like creatures. Well, they are dragons. Technically, they are true dragons as well. They have all the different forms. They can live to be ancient, etc. But they are they have patches of green fur growing out of them, in addition to being covered in scales. The art for them is really beautiful, actually. Um, they are, as with most things that exist in the Feywild, very, very like tricksy kind of individuals, but they eventually grow up to be these like wise old storytellers who spend a lot of their time as like tutors and educators within the Feywild community, as well as uh, the someone that like adventurers who come in will like reach out to get some information. They are overall entirely gentle. As I mentioned, they are tricksy kind of dragons, but they do not want to go out and hurt things necessarily. They are there to play their jokes or to help and educate people as they come through. It's kind of like it feels kind of like Archfey territory, where like they aren't necessarily like actively seeking to help everybody, but they don't necessarily bother themselves with like the day to day of mortals unless they are really sort of like entranced by them in some capacity, and they like to sort of poke at the goings on of adventures that just sort of roll through. Um, the They like to make their lairs out in high on like mountaintops or anywhere that is really like suffused with moonlight in particular. And given that they are so high up and stuff like that, they and connected to the Feywild, they have the ability to project themselves into the dreams of other people, which is very, very interesting to me and really, really cool. They're also absolutely obsessed with all things with that similar sort of like shine and sheen to them. So things like platinum and mithril are their big collector items. And that it's so interesting to me that they threw this one in here without really like connecting it to any of the major three categories now of dragons. But I'm really glad they did, because I think they're really, really cool. But that is actually the end of everything that I have to talk to you guys about today, which is awesome. I'm so excited that we have gem dragons in D&D now, like, or in 5th edition in a full official capacity. I know that we had them via like homebrew stuff and whatever, but I'm glad that they're here now. So thank you guys so much for making me part of your morning routine. I really do appreciate it. Thank you in particular to all of my patrons. You guys are the ones that really make this show possible. Reminder that all pledges to my Patreon for this month are going to be going to the Trevor Project after being matched by me, which means that your $1 pledge will become a $2 donation. So please consider pledging or donating straight to the Trevor Project. I would really, really appreciate it, and they are a very much worthy organization that I think more people should know about. But that is everything that I have for you. Make sure you guys come back tomorrow for a very much tone shift kind of thing, because it is going to be Third Party Thursday, where I talk about a horror-based supplement, because don't worry, I haven't forgotten that it's pretty much Halloween time, and I love me some Halloween. But until then, I will see you guys tomorrow, and until next time, keep on rolling.